Hello?
What's your name?
Renette.
Renette, that's a lovely name. Can you tell me where you are at the moment, Renette?
In my bedroom?
And where's your bedroom? Where do you live, Renette?
Paris, of course.
Paris, right.
Monsieur, what are you doing in my fireplace?
No, it's just a routine fire check. Can you tell me what year it is?
Of course I can. 1727.
Right, lovely. One of my favourites. August is rubbish, though. Stay indoors. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for your help. Hope you enjoy the rest of the fire. Night-night.
Good night, monsieur.
Hello and welcome to the new year of Who Watches Who. The podcast starts officially again up this year, and as you know, I'm Matthew, and as always, I'm joined.
Yes, hello, it's Scott, and happy almost Valentine's Day. This month we're doing 3 romantic themed episodes.
Ooh la la.
Since we have nobody, we're just gonna spend some time with you, okay?
Yeah, and we are covering this week Girl in the Fireplace, which I remember being an incredible story when it first aired. This is one of the stories I remember watching live on TV as a kid, mostly because and we'll get into it as we go about it, but the Clockwork Monsters terrified me. That is an idea that just was being ingrained in my head since I was a little kid. That idea of like when you hear a clock ticking at night, it's all I can ever think about.
Yeah, I certainly felt the same way, and I was 8. Yeah, I was 8 at this point.
Yeah, I was 6.
Nice.
The perfect age to be scared by Doctor Who, honestly.
It is, yes.
And this is a fun episode. It is an interesting plot at times, I think. Particularly the actual love story is a bit weird. But we'll get into that. But first, this episode aired May 6th, 2006, which was a Saturday, and as of today recording, which is the 1st of January, it was 18 years, 8 months, and 4 days ago. So by the time this comes out, like 18 years and 9 months or something.
Today is the 11th, not the 1st. We're not recording this on New Year's Day.
Yeah. And so what was going on in this day? On the United States, George W. Bush was in his second term as president, dealing with the ongoing Iraq war and controversy surrounding his administration's foreign policy decisions. A running theme of the events of this day, Iraq.
Nice.
It is wartime, baby. There is trouble in the Middle East, and everybody's sticking their fingers in it.
Yep.
It's pretty miserable. In the United Kingdom, Tony Blair was serving his 3rd term as Prime Minister, and his government was grappling with the declining public approval and the continuing debate over Britain's involvement in the Iraq War. Very cool stuff. I love war criminals.
Yeah, it had been 3 years at this point, so the public were like, yeah, this is definitely not the right move, right?
People hate war, and people really hate war when it goes on for a really long time. And shock surprise, the Iraq and Afghanistan war goes on for a really long time.
Oh, God.
But in last really upsetting war news, I don't have much on this day. I've mostly just got people protesting the war. That was the big things going on. But it wasn't the big things going on in the cinema.
Okay, oh God.
Now, in the US and in the UK, they are different movies. You do know both of these movies. You should be able to guess both of these movies. We'll start with the US. I have clues.
Okay.
If you need clues, but just take some. Let's see where your brain's at. May 6th, 2006.
The first thing I think of is Cars. That must have came out around this time.
When did Cars come out?
2006.
It's not the right movie.
Okay.
Cars was 2006, yeah, but it's not the right movie.
Am I on the right path? Am I on the right highway?
For the United States, no.
Okay, for the United States. So I'm presuming it's not like a family movie.
It's not a family movie. It's not
Borat?
an animated movie. No, it's not a comedy either.
Okay.
I can give you some clues. if you need
X-Men:
them.
The Last Stand.
No, it's
Shit
not
year
su-
for
well,
movies.
Yeah, well, this one I don't think is bad. This is
Okay.
actually one of my favorites in the series of movies it is involved
The
with.
series of movies. Harry Potter, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Think more. It's it's a series that's been going since 1996.
Oh,
They still make
Mission
them-
Impossible.
Mission.
Is it 3? It must be 3 because you like 3. Yeah, okay.
It is.
I
Yeah,
got
it is Mission Impossible 3, starring Tom Cruise and directed by J.J. Abrams. It is one of my favorite Mission Impossible
Okay.
movies. I definitely see the problems with it, and it's got the J.J. Abrams classic
Yes.
MacGuffin of the thing that doesn't actually matter pushing the plot forward.
Foot.
But
The rabbit's foot,
Yeah.
the contents of the rabbit's foot is apparently going to be disclosed in Mission Impossible 8 coming out in May this year. So
Damn.
if you want to know what the rabbit foot is all about, you'll find out 20 years later.
yeah, I am not the biggest fan of the Mission Impossible movies. I know you really like them.
Yes,
I've
I
been
love them.
slowly making my way through them, and I'm like, they're fine. But I really like Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I
Yeah.
think he's fucking incredible in Mission
Oh,
Impossible
he
3.
is. The bathroom scene is amazing.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah.
What a great franchise. The only bad one, in my opinion, is number 2, and even that has its moments. You know, with the
It's very
the
silly.
motorcycle
Yeah.
chase and the knife.
The
to
car
the
dance
eye.
and
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's very silly. But that still leaves us with the United Kingdom. What were people lining up to see on this day in cinemas?
So I'm presuming
You've
Mission
already had a
Impossible
couple clues.
opened up the week after or something like that. So it's
I actually don't know when it opened in the UK, but yeah. Let me check.
so it's not Mission Impossible. Is it another franchise?
It is another franchise because everything's a franchise,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible came in. What was this? May 6th. Doesn't take over. Yeah, it's literally the next day.
Okay,
That,
okay.
Mission Impossible takes over. So
So
this one is literally it's at the end of its run as number 1.
So this is another franchise movie. It's not something I've mentioned before, I presume.
Nope, you've not said it yet.
Okay. I wouldn't think it's a superhero movie because I don't think. Oh, could it be Superman Returns?
It's not a superhero movie.
Fuck.
It is. You were closer with Cars.
Cars. So it's
Then
an
you
animated
were-
movie. It's an. Okay.
Yeah, it's an animated film.
Oh, is it Dream? Oh, could it be Flushed Away?
Is it DreamWorks? No, it's not DreamWorks, but it's I don't think the studio's around anymore.
The studio is it Blue Sky? Oh, could it be Ice Age 2?
It is Ice Age. I don't know if it's Ice Age 2 because it's called Ice Age: The Meltdown.
Okay,
which
that is Ice Age 2. Yeah,
Yes.
because the third one was Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
yeah.
Well,
Third
what-
one was the last one I saw, but
What a franchise. We're doing an Ice Age 6, and they've done a direct to Disney
Hey, man.
Plus movie as well. It's
whatever gives Ray Romano work. Whatever.
what a franchise. The last one I
yeah.
saw was the fourth one because my mum wanted to really see that, and that was in like 2012, so I was way too old for that movie.
Yeah. No, the last one I saw was the one with dinosaurs, and I remember, even as a kid, thinking that they've ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
Being like, "What do you mean dinosaurs are around? That's so dumb." But it's a fun enough franchise of movies. People like them; they're silly.
I'll take it over the fucking Minions, you know? I do like the first Despicable Me, but Despicable Me is like the weirdest thing you can call a kids movie. Despicable.
Yeah.
Like what
Despicable
kid?
Me, yeah.
What kid would go to see it? I guess it's really popular.
Apparently,
so
lots
everyone,
of them. Yeah,
so-
apparently every kid would go and see it.
But like just the name Despicable, nobody thought, hey, that's a bit of an extreme word. It's a bit of an adult word to use. That's more than 2 syllables.
you gotta treat your audience with some semblance of intelligence. You know, you
Yeah.
gotta trust that the kids are gonna go out and see it. I like the Despicable Me movies. I think even the sequels are pretty good. I haven't seen the most recent one because I'm not really the target audience
I've only
for
seen.
them. I have no reason to.
I've seen
seek
the
them out.
first one and like half an hour of the second one, and random clips here and there. But
Yeah,
you're more of
the
a
Minions. I've never seen.
Oh, you should watch them. You should watch them to complete the franchise.
Yeah, I am the resident Despicable Me fanatic. That is who
I think
am.
the fourth Minions movie just swapped places with Shrek 6. Sorry, Shrek 5. So Shrek 5 was supposed to come out next July, but Despicable Me 5 is coming out now instead. So Shrek we
5
have
is never
we have to
coming out.
wait till December to get Shrek 5. I'm disappointed. I'm so sad.
Shrek 5's never coming out. It's never coming out. It's been teased for like decades now.
But next
you know?
year is the 25th anniversary, so it's more time than ever. You know, it's perfect timing.
Yeah. I have a few other things about just kind of the culture of this era. YouTube launched in the platform that we're on right now. That came out in 2005, so it's been around for about a year at this point and is rapidly growing in popularity and changing. And the YouTube of 2006 compared to the YouTube of 2025, basically different websites.
I think it was the next year I discovered YouTube. The first thing I watched was Family Guy clips.
I don't think I was allowed on the internet really until about 2010, 11. So I was a
2010?
bit later.
What?
Yeah.
Insane.
We didn't have a computer. I was probably like dabbling on the internet at like younger ages at school and stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't
Insane.
have a computer at home, so we just didn't have the internet.
You're probably better off for
it's
it. But
it-
you missed
like a
Club
different world.
Penguin.
It's
You
like a-
missed Club Penguin. You
I did.
missed
I
Spin
never played
Weebles.
Club Penguin. Yeah, I never did any of that. I never did any
So
of that.
sad.
But I did get when I got onto YouTube. I then did watch like a bunch of Happy Tree Friends and
Okay,
stuff.
fair, yeah.
You know, platforms like MySpace
Oh my
were at their absolute peak in 2006, while Facebook was only just starting to expand outside of college campuses. Which is just crazy to think that, you know, MySpace is still technically around.
Yeah.
I don't know who uses it or what for. Bots, probably, I imagine, is what's on there.
Or they have secret Nazi meetings on there, I presume.
Yeah, there's something going on. While Facebook has just legalized lying again.
Oh, yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's pretty fucking cool, you know?
I really hope that social media becomes like just this little blip of a thing that people did for about 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, or like 20 years or so, like in the early 2000s into the 2010s. And as this decade progresses, we all just collectively say no thank you and stop using it because it sucks.
Yeah. I need to get off Twitter. I keep on saying that, but I need to get
Yeah.
off it.
I don't miss it at all. I think I've fully kicked my Twitter addiction. I have no desire to go back on it. I like open Facebook every now and then to scroll through some funny memes, but every time I do it, I'm like, I don't want to be on this website, and then I close it. Right now, I'm really using Reddit, but even then, Reddit's so shit that I use it maybe once a day.
But yeah,
You know,
not
it's-
to go too political this early on in the podcast, but yeah, it definitely needs to be heavily regulated because it is insane the amount of misinformation that's being allowed on these websites. It's so wild.
I just don't see a world in which it's a bad thing to just get rid of them.
True. Yeah.
There's like I think we would survive.
Or
We have
at,
enough,
at least
like,
have one.
group
You know,
chats.
merge them together and create a new one.
Have one social media run by the state. They're in charge. I think, you know, like we've got Discords and like group chats and WhatsApps, and I think people's social circles are a lot smaller, and life would be a lot nicer if those were the main sources of information and communication rather than just like, oh, I saw this fucking AI generated post on my Facebook feed that says all immigrants are bad, so I guess it's true.
Yeah.
But that is all I've got for On This Day in 2006. I was 6 years old watching this with my family. And this was probably peak, or like, this is definitely coming up to peak Doctor Who, because it's the first series with David Tennant.
Yep.
Everybody, Doctor Who mania is starting to kick in again. Everybody I know is watching Doctor Who. My entire family is watching Doctor Who. It is the best show on TV. It is just capturing everything, you know.
God, I wish my mum watched Doctor Who with me at the time, because I remember watching this on my tiny television in my bedroom with my indoor TV aerial. So sometimes all you would see is just like static, basically. So wasn't the best reception, and also, you know, like the old TV signals where it's like ghost outlines of everything. Pretty cool, but you know, I made it do.
It's crazy to think how different the world was in 2006.
I know. It's only been 20 years. It's insane.
Yeah, it's been 20 years. Insane, you know.
And now I can fucking watch this episode while I'm walking to work. You know what I mean? Insane how different life is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah,
that's all I've got.
So the origins of this episode began when Russell T Davies was researching for the television show Casanova, which starred David Tennant. That came out in March 2005. It was a miniseries of 3 episodes. And Russell T Davies became absolutely fascinated with the figure Madame de Pompadour, who was the official mistress of King Louis XV. And around the same time, Moffat came up to Russell T Davies and was basically like, hey, I have an idea about an episode about a library, which would become an episode 2 years later of Silence of the Library. And another fucking cracker episode from
Incredible
Moffat.
episode, yeah.
But Russell T Davies was like, hey, I want you to do this instead. Do an episode about Madame de Pompadour. And also Clockwork Man. That's basically the only 2 briefs he was given to do this episode. The rest is just pure Moffat. I don't even think Russell T Davies probably made much changes, because this feels pure Moffat.
It's very Moffat.
It's so horny.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very Moffat-y. In the best way. It's very good. It's Moffat, Benny's good.
Yes.
There's 2 types of Moffat. There's bad Moffat and good Moffat. And this has got everything you want in a good Moffat script. It's got weird time shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's got horniness. It's got witty dialogue. It's a fun romp. It's one of the best Moffat episodes. It's very, very good. Casanova, by the way, is available on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
To watch.
I'll give it a
so
try.
If you feel like watching those 3 episodes, or 2 episodes, it's a 2-part series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2-part series. So it's really short, 2 episodes. Yeah. No, sorry, 3. Stop lying to me, Google. God, Google's a piece of shit. Google's the worst.
Yeah,
God.
Google is just going downhill. Like, especially since they've implemented their AI overview thing. Like, holy shit. What the fuck?
It was a garbage. Everything. Let's just stop the internet. Let's just be done with it. I'm done with it. But yeah, no. Casanova's on Amazon Prime if you want to see David Tennant before the Doctor.
Nice. So Stephen Moffat is quoted as saying, they thought they were getting a celebrity historical, but what they got was Tom's Midnight Garden with sex. Are you familiar with Tom's Midnight Garden?
Again, I know the name, but I don't know what it is.
So this is a 1950s book, which I saw a movie adaptation of. I think it was a TV movie I saw just randomly when I was sick one afternoon. So I thought this was a fever dream or something. It's about a guy. It's about a kid named Tom, who is a boy. He lives with his grandparents or something. And every midnight, the clock strikes 12, he goes out into the garden, and he gets transported back in time to meet this little girl named something. I don't know what her name was. But every midnight, he keeps going out into the garden, and he keeps seeing different points of this girl's life. And the girl keeps on aging. So he keeps time traveling in the middle of the night, which is the basic premise of Tom's Midnight Garden. It was okay. It did feel like a fever dream, because I feel like I'm the only one who knows about this. But apparently not. I guess Moffat heard of it. So Stephen Moffat was also inspired by Time Traveler's Wife for this episode, which was a 2003 book, so quite recent. He would later use it, obviously, for the River Song storyline, and then he would later become the showrunner and the only writer of a HBO series, The Time Traveler's Wife, which was later removed from HBO Max for a tax write-off, which...
Awesome.
So you can't see it anymore.
Awesome.
And the show was even directed by David Nutter, who is most famous for his X-Files episodes, like Ice and Beyond the Sea, etc. Yeah, like he's a really famous X-Files director. But yeah, I've never seen that show purely because it got removed the second I was about to hunt for it, so I never saw it. Fucking terrible.
Yeah, I love media being just made for no one.
Yeah.
What a good use of money.
So Stephen Moffat skimmed through a history book just to find the basic details about Madame de Pompadour, and then he just kind of, he kind of put together his bullet points and just put it in the episodes. It's loose research, which is good enough for Doctor Who. It's not pure historical. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And apparently, before writing this episode, Christopher Eccleston hadn't left yet. But Moffat was the fourth person to say, hey, I just saw, David Tennant, and I think he would be a really good person to be the next Doctor. So 3 people before him recommended David Tennant to Russell T Davies. Like, what a perfect choice for all these people to come together and be like, yeah, that's a perfect Doctor. He's perfect.
Yeah. And, they were right.
Yeah.
He was maybe too perfect.
Maybe, yes, a little bit too perfect, yes. So the working titles for this episode are Madame de Pompadour, Every Take of My Heart, Loose Connection, and Renette and the Lonely Angel, which reminds me of the Weeping Angels. But yeah, those are
all those titles suck.
Yeah,
those titles suck.
Girl in the Fireplace works so much better because it's more imaginative. It's something you can imagine.
It's more dreamlike as well.
Yeah, it's more dreamlike. It's more fairy tale. This is Moffat entering into his kind of like fairy tale kind of storytelling, which would become the norm for like Series 5, which he obviously showrun.
Yeah.
But Series 5 is also a massive fairy tale, and also the story itself is just Amy Pond, but more dramatic. Because, meeting the girl when she's a child and then going back and thinking you've only been gone for 5 minutes. No, wait, you've been gone for like 12 years. Shit like that.
Yeah. That's the fun time travel nonsense. I love.
If only there was a word for fun time travel nonsense.
Some sort of limey, slimy. I just don't know if it's there.
But yeah, that's the history segment. Do you want to just jump into
the
Girl in the Fireplace?
Yeah. Let's jump into a fireplace and watch The Girl in the Fireplace. Okay.
You're in my memories. You walk among them.
If there's anything you don't want me to see, just imagine a door and close it. I won't look. Oh, actually, there's a door just there. You might want to... Oh, actually several.
To walk among the memories of another living soul. Do you ever get used to this?
I don't make a habit of it.
How can you resist?
What age are you?
So impertinent a question so early in the conversation. How promising.
Well, not my question, theirs. You're 23, and for some reason that means you're not old enough. Sorry, you might find old memories reawakening. Side effect.
Oh, such a lonely childhood.
It'll pass. Stay with me.
Oh, Doctor. So lonely, so very, very alone.
You mean alone? You've never been alone in your life. When did you start calling me Doctor?
Such a lonely little boy. Lonely then and lonelier now. How can you bear it?
How did you do that?
A door once opened, maybe step through in either direction. Oh, Doctor. My lonely doctor. Dance with me.
I can't.
Dance with me.
This is the night you dance with the king.
Then first I shall make him jealous.
I can't.
Doctor. Doctor Who? It's more than just a secret, isn't it?
What did you see?
That there comes a time, Time Lord, when every lonely little boy must learn how to dance.
So, the episode begins with a cold open. No, I don't think it's one of the best cold opens ever in Doctor Who. I think it's fine. You know,
It does the job. It just does the job
Yeah.
fine. It makes you one step ahead of the Doctor when he opens the story. So, as all the cold opens should do, makes you one step ahead of the Doctor, and then it's the Doctor discovering what's going on.
Yeah, it's Madame de Pompadour. She's like, oh, the clock is struck 12 or is broken or something, and I need help. You said you would come help. Doctor, doctor, doctor. She yells into a fireplace. We're like, why the fuck is she yelling into a fireplace? Then the intro credits kick in, and the plot can begin.
Sophia Miles, by the way, we're not going to talk about her personally. I'm not going to compliment her personally because she is a horrible person, but whenever we talk about her as an actress, we're going to say she's very good because she is very good. But
she is.
She was hired based on the fact that Stephen Moffat's son kept on playing the Thunderbirds movie on DVD over and over again, and she was Lady Penelope in Thunderbirds. So she is the only person who got a job after Thunderbirds. She didn't even have to audition for this episode of Doctor Who. Terrible movie, that Thunderbirds movie.
That as a movie I watched a lot as a kid. I also watched that film a lot as a kid.
Oh God.
I don't imagine it's good, but it's one that I have a lot of memories of. It's I remember it having a very vivid color scheme.
Yeah, Thunderbirds walked so Speed Racer could run, is what I think.
Yeah, it's a good time. I have not seen it since I was a child.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Like a very small child.
McFly did that awful Thunderbird song. Ugh.
Oh, I loved McFly as a kid. Loved McFly. But the episode opens up with the Doctor and Mickey Smith and Rose coming out of the TARDIS, and this is Mickey's first adventure in the TARDIS, so he exclaims as he comes out, I got a spaceship on my first time.
And penultimate, he doesn't do anything in this adventure. I mean, he gets written off in the next adventure, which is kind of random.
Yeah, Mickey has a interesting time as a companion. Yeah, for sure. He is underutilized. Again, not talking about the actor, just the character. I feel like the character could have had a bit more to do.
I will say it's a great choice. His shirt being a NES controller, fucking great choice. He is a nerd.
But he wants to be cool. He's trying to be cool. There's a fun bit when he's looking out the window and at space, and he says it's so realistic. I think that's a fun little line because it's like he still doesn't quite believe what's happening, where he is. He's like, wow, this thing looks so real, because it is real. And there's some fun witty dialogue here with the Doctor being like, "There's no danger. There might be some. I'm going to scan to see if there's danger.
There's nothing here. Well, nothing dangerous. Well, not that dangerous. Tell you what, I'll just have a quick scan in case there's something dangerous." Great writing, fantastic writing there.
That is superb. That's Moffat dialogue to a T.
Yeah, which it's perfect dialogue because it feels natural. Sometimes Moffat's dialogue gets a bit too contrived, especially when he's talking about hybrids and shit. Like you have to shoehorn hybrid into every fucking conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
No Torchwood reference in this episode, which is nice. You don't hear
Yeah,
Madame
yeah.
de Pompadour go, ooh, Torchwood. There's no mysterious ladies floating around being like, oh, I'm mysterious, you know? Good stuff.
It's just a self-contained adventure.
Yep.
You know.
But it's a self-contained adventure which kind of ties into the themes of the season. You know, later on, the Doctor is obviously going to lose Rose, and this is all about losing Madame de Pompadour. It's the themes that are tied into this, which is very nice, which is the way shit should be, rather than going, oh, one day you're going to lose Rose. Ooh.
But they explore around the ship for a bit, and they're curious as to why nobody is around, and the ship seems like it's been under some weird repairs, and they stumble their way.
The Doctor says there's cowboys about, which to me as a kid, I'm like,
Yes.
oh, we're into a cowboy adventure, yeehaw. Especially when the horse shows up later, I'm like, okay, there's the horse, where's the cowboy? I got so confused.
I don't remember that being a problem for me, mostly because, like, especially in like the early 2000s, I feel like there was loads of shows like Cowboy Builders.
Yeah, I never watched them, you know.
Yeah, I never watched them either, but I just remember them being advertised because this is when terrestrial TV was still a thing, you know.
And then later on, the Doctor's looking inside Madame de Pompadour's head, and he's like, "There's cowboys being in there," and I'm like, "What does that mean? If a cowboy went through her head, what?"
Well, there's cowboys everywhere, but in the episode. But they stumble their way around into finding a fireplace, an old French fireplace in the spaceship, and the Doctor's like, well, that's a bit weird. You don't always see a fireplace in a spaceship. Let's go look at that and check it out.
And also, you know, when we're realizing there's nobody around, Rose is like, well, we are in deep space. We didn't just nip out for a quick fag, which I presume would be censored in like American airings of this episode, because I feel like any censor would go, why is there a slur in this episode of Doctor Who?
I don't know. I feel like it's common enough knowledge that, you know, fag is a term in the UK for cigarette.
I don't think it is, especially then. You know, I was speaking to an American friend like a decade ago, and I mentioned something about fag, and they were like, why did you say that word? They just didn't understand.
Yeah, but also, like, Doctor Who's not incredibly popular in America yet, you know?
True, yeah.
The few people that are actually going out their way to watch it are probably people that are, like, into British TV anyway, and, like, have a bit more knowledge of British culture. Yeah.
It is still weird when it's used. We didn't see it on an episode these days, especially since it's going to Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus would raise a few eyebrows.
I also don't think you would really see that many people smoking in general these days.
Yeah.
I found it strange when the Doctor was like, I checked all the smoking pods. And like, there's smoking pods in the like 51st century or something, you know, like, you know, like, I'm surely people have stopped smoking by then. It's a habit of the past.
Yeah, I used to have a colleague. He was my supervisor like years ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago. He would smoke an entire pack of cigarettes in a shift, in an 8-hour shift. 20 cigarettes.
That's
insane.
A lot of not doing work and just going outside.
Exactly. Like, you would often need them, and the first place you would look to find them would be the back, where he's having another smoke. Okay. Pissed me off.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of smoke. That is a lot of.
Yes.
He must have smelled lovely.
Oh boy, yes.
Yeah. But inside the fireplace is a window into a little French girl's bedroom as she is sitting in the fire. Yeah, she's sitting looking through the fireplace, and she's like, oh my god, hi, guy in the fireplace. And she only ever addresses or looks at the Doctor, even though from her perspective we can see Mickey and Rose staring through the fireplace as well.
I presume, you know, this is TV lighting. I presume to her, who isn't lit by television lights.
I guess she can only see the Doctor through the flames.
She can only see the Doctor, yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess, maybe it's just the 2006 production, but they could have communicated that clearly.
Either way, she is extremely calm to find a stranger in her
Yeah.
bedroom. She's just like, oh, there's a man in the fireplace. What are you doing here?
Yeah, but I think that it's like and one of the important parts of it being a child is it's there. I see a lot of Amy in the way that Madame de Pompadour is presented, especially in child Amy sees the Doctor. She's not freaked out by him. She's curious about him because she still has that sense of magic and wonder.
She even calls him her imaginary friend, which is what Amy also does. So there's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah, there really is.
And also, like the minute Amy meets the Doctor as an adult, she also snogs him just very quickly.
yeah, which is we'll get to that bit. But the Doctor decides to go in and investigate what's going on, like why is there a fireplace here to this girl's bedroom, and he finds a little lever on the side that causes the fireplace to spin around, which is a really fun little set. It's really silly. It's like a game show.
Yeah.
And you just see that you can see the floor this like spinning like thing, but it must have been fun to do.
It makes me think of Scooby Doo, the opening of Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
But also the revolving fireplace is only in the script because she was Madame de Pompadour would become the mistress to King Louis. One of Louis's assistants had a wife who was using a revolving fireplace to sneak off to have an affair. So that's why we have a fireplace in this episode at all, is because of this woman having an affair and sneaking out through the fire exit, which is really smart if you need to sneak off somewhere. Smart.
Yeah. How do you install that? How do you get somebody to install that? Yeah.
I'm gonna ask.
Yeah. But he comes through into the bedroom and it's nighttime and, it's like months have passed since he spoke to her just moments ago. And this is our first introduction to the time shenanigans. The spaceship basically just rips through into different periods of time in France with this person, and it's seemingly random.
Yeah, the Doctor calls it a spatial temporal hyperlink, which he confesses he just made
magic
up the
door.
word. Yeah. Which I do like it whenever they address. Yeah, most of the mumbo jumbo the Doctor keeps on spouting off is just sound smart,
Yeah. And this scene here with the little Madame de Pompadour is one that is ingrained in my memory because it's one that really scared me as a kid, with the Doctor going up to the clock and being like, oh, your clock is like, do you hear that ticking? That's not the ticking of a clock. You would notice if there was two ticks but not one. And just that idea, and then there's like the big monster under the bed, and then the reveal, and it's the reveal of the clockwork like monsters. It's such a good costume.
It is.
They're creepy as fuck.
The production of this whole episode is really fucking solid. Like, But yeah, the idea of a creature hiding under the bed apparently hadn't been done on Doctor Who before, which is wild because that's like one of the key ideas
like
you can
basic.
think
Yeah,
of.
that's like
one of the most basic ideas, and it hadn't been done in 700 episodes. What are you talking about? Crazy. And of course, Moffat would later reuse this in Listen, except of under the bed, it's under the quilt. Whatever the fuck that episode was about.
Yeah, I remember that. I haven't seen that since it came out, but I remember that being a really weird episode that didn't really have an ending.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that one. All I remember is the Doctor meditating on top of the TARDIS, where the TARDIS light, the light at the top of the TARDIS, he's sitting on top of the TARDIS, so I presume the light just went up his butthole, like a butt plug, right? That's where it must go.
His butthole's bigger on the inside, so it's okay.
But the Clockwork Men themselves were inspired by the Turk from 1769, who were the Clockwork Man who had played chess, but it turned out to be a hoax created
just
by
a guy
Wolfgang von Kempelton. So obviously this idea was later reused in The Nightmare in Silver, the second Neil Gaiman episode.
Yes.
Constantly reusing ideas.
Yeah, constantly reusing ideas, and the Nightmare in Silver episodes, famous for kind of being rushed and
Yeah,
not what
yeah.
Gaiman wanted them to be. Which
Yeah.
do you think? I wonder because Gaiman was another one of the guest writers who reappeared all the time, and he was starting to dip his toe into show running with like Good Omens and the Netflix one, Sandman, and stuff like that. Do you think if he didn't get cancelled for cheating on his wife and stuff, that maybe he could have had a future as a Doctor Who showrunner? I would have been interested because I never hated the Gaiman episodes, but I always felt like they suffered from other writers getting their fingers into it.
His episodes were definitely overcooked by Moffat for sure. I do like the Doctor's wife. I feel like the Doctor's wife is like 70% Gaiman, but I don't know if Gaiman would be a Doctor Who showrunner. I feel like it's not really his type of tea.
Yeah, but
he's more into like the
interested.
gothic fantasy stuff rather than sci-fi.
Yeah,
But
but I think that could be an interesting twist, like a more gothic-y focused Doctor Who era. But I don't want him to touch it anymore. No, thank you, Gaiman.
just any new fresh perspective on Doctor Who.
Yeah,
would be
literally.
nice, because this episode works because it is a fresh perspective. The idea of the Doctor falling in love was brand new at the time. The idea of having time travel actually be involved in the episode somehow. Constant time travel. Good idea. It's not really been done before. There's a lot of ideas here that really work. The Doctor says, after he does the little sword fight with the Clockwork Man, he says, I'm what monsters have nightmares about, which is a line borrowed from Paul Cornell's Doctor Who book in 1992, Love and War. Paul Cornell is obviously the guy who created Human Nature. He wrote Father's Day. Moffat also tweaked the line. He also used the line in 1996 in a short story called Continuity Errors. But it's a line that's been reused over and over again.
Yeah, it's fun. It's an iconic Doctor Who line. The monsters are scared of me. Ha ha ha. I'm. I feel like it's been used in other Doctor Who episodes as well.
Probably. There's a lot of echoes in Doctor Who.
Yeah. There's only so many ideas. And when you only got the same 3 writers, that's going to happen. But when he takes the thing back round, he freezes it with a fire extinguisher, to which Mickey's like, awesome, ice gun, which is just the perfect line, really. And he takes off the mask of the robot. And this is another scene that really left an impact on me as a kid that I remembered, because the Doctor suddenly is like, oh my god, you're gorgeous. You are beautiful. And it's this idea that, like, even the monsters or the villains, like, the Doctor can appreciate them. And he doesn't just vilify it immediately. He sees the artistry in the mechanics of making this machine, And it's also an incredible looking I was like,
oh my god,
the Clockwork robots. I was like, they need to come back. We've only seen them once and they're stunning. And then they came back in the Capaldi first episode with the Clockwork Man, and it wasn't as good.
Yeah, in the Clockwork Man episode, it was more of these robots are looking for human flesh so they can become more like human. That was the original concept for this episode. But I think the script editor said, hey, wait a minute, we're doing a Cyberman episode next week, which is basically the same concept but in reverse. So we're not doing this, instead of robots wanting to become more human, the next episode was about humans becoming more robots.
Becoming robots.
Yeah. So we're not going to do the same thing twice, and that's why the whole ship had human parts in it and all that shit. But it's such this episode must have been the most expensive episode at this time of probably any TV show, in British history. It is wild.
Yeah, it's got the, because usually you get either a period piece, a history episode, or a sci-fi episode. This is both. So you have to have the big sci-fi set and the historical set and the historical costumes and the sci-fi stuff, So it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit for sure. But that whoever designed and built the Clockwork robot, fucking 10 out of 10 work. They look incredible. The little intricate cog work inside the glass head. Oh my goodness. But the Doctor is like, okay, I'm not afraid to destroy you, even though you are beautiful, so you got to tell me everything that you can. The robot just kind of runs away, and the Doctor's like, okay, I've got to go back through and see Madame de Pompadour, because they're up to something, these robots.
Yeah.
And he tells Rose and Mickey to stay put. Classic. It takes Mickey a minute to catch up to realize that means go have fun and do nothing really in the episode. They're not really needed.
This feels like it should have been a companion light episode, so they can go shoot another episode with like Billy Piper. That's what we used to do all the time. But instead, they're just kind of wandering around this shit for no reason. Kind of. It's very strange.
They don't have an awful lot to do. I guess they discover that there's weird stuff going on in the ship, but like the Doctor kind of figures that out without even seeing it.
But yeah, this is where what I like to call whimsical music kicks in. The music up until this point has been really fucking good. You've got the kind of backwards music on a spaceship, which I feel like would have been like an early kind of test ground for doing the Torchwood music, because the Torchwood music is all about pianos in reverse, which I fucking love. But yeah, you have a reversed music on a spaceship, and you have like kind of like music box kind of music in the French scenes, which is really cool because it reminds you of like a clockwork music box.
I get
an
it.
old fashioned as well. Yeah, it really fucking works. It sounds royal. It's really really good score here, but the whimsical stuff, no thank you.
Yeah, the whimsical music as they're exploring the ship, especially when they discover all the body horror stuff, it really undermines it, where they're like, oh my god, that's a human eyeball inside that camera. That's a human heart plugged into the wall. And it's like, it does not fit. But the Doctor goes back through to see Madame de Pompadour, and he's very stunned to discover he doesn't care that it's daylight. He's like, daylight, because I guess he's figured that like time moves forward anyway, but not as much as he was expecting, because Madame de Pompadour is now a full-grown woman.
Yeah,
and she snogs him. And it's really weird.
If you look at David Tennant's eyes, he kind of glances down, and then he glances up, and he's like, "Goodness, how you've grown." He glances down and then up.
It's one of the things with David Tennant's Doctor especially that I understand as a criticism, and a lot of classic Who fans have that criticism, and it's a lot of what the classic Doctor's criticism is whenever you ask them, like, what don't you like? And it's like, all the kissing. Don't like the kissing. Which I get, because I don't know if I like the kissing either. I kind of prefer, like, the Matt Smith Capaldi era type of Doctor, where he he loves his wife, and he is still like romantic and has feelings and stuff, but he's not a horn dog like David Tennant is.
So Stephen Moffat knew these kind of complaints would be made, especially back in 2006, and he's like, I'll make Renette kiss the Doctor first before the Doctor falls in love properly with her, so it's her coming on to him, which means he gets turned on by her kind of situation, which works more than just the Doctor going goo eyes for the first woman ever. He accidentally proposed to that Aztec woman as William Hartnell. He kissed Grace in the TV movie. He doesn't really have much of a romance on screen. He fucks because he has a grandchild. That's what Moffat's logic is. The Doctor already fucks, so of course he's gonna fall in love. It works. It's fine. What works for me is later on in the episode when we have a mind meld sequence. That makes it more realistic as to why they suddenly fall in love. I feel like that could have come earlier in the episode. But, it's sound logic, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so. I fully get it as well. It's just a lot of kissing. It's a lot of smooching, which feels so strange, because we don't really get that in Doctor Who anymore either.
No, the last time must have been the husbands of River Song. The last time the Doctor had any kind of connection to a woman or a man or anything, really.
I don't think Jodie kissed anybody, and I don't think Shooty's kissed anybody. David
the
Tennant didn't kiss
doctor was
anybody in that brief
the
minute
doctor
he was back,
was
did he?
gay for Isaac Newton and also Rogue, I guess.
Yeah.
But I still don't feel a relationship.
Oh yeah,
between
Rogue
the
had a big
doctor
kiss.
and Rogue.
Yeah, I forgot there was a big kiss in Rogue.
Yeah, I still don't feel a connection between them two. It's
I liked it. I
it's
liked
fine,
it. I know.
but compared to this
I thought
episode,
it was. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, but yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. It's just a bit weird when she has like a line before kissing him of like, "I've known you since I was 7 years old," and it's like, all right, fucking hell. Like, that's
it's the same thing with Amy Pond, though, and also like any other companion, especially like Rose, who is 20 in this episode and he's 900.
Yeah, the Rose Doctor dynamics was always a bit weird though. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you just got to forget that the Doctor is very, very old and that Rose is a kid. But it's whatever. The Doctor, you know, he goes back through after being like, haha, I just snogged Madame de Pompadour, and then he discovers a horse because he gets upset that Amy and Roy are nowhere about,
The
and that's when they
whimsical
discover.
music kicks in again.
Yeah, yeah. They discover all the body horror stuff. He goes through a doorway and comes out into a garden where he sees Madame de Pompadour talking with one of her friends, and it's basically just a little exposition history dump of who is Madame de Pompadour and what she's going to be doing. And it's like, you're going to fuck the king as a job.
Oh,
And
my
she's like,
favorite. My
yes,
favorite.
I am.
My favorite kind of line is, "Oh, as you already know, the king is going to show up." Well, why the fuck would you tell her if she already fucking knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, VI moving around in that little thing reminds me of Jabba the Hutt's palace in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's a direct reference to Star Wars. It must be.
I mean, yeah. You can't do anything in sci-fi without referencing Star Wars in some way, even inadvertently. You know, it's so dominant in the genre. So the episode continues on with Mickey and Rose looking through a two-way mirror into just a regular
Isn't
old
it a
room where
one-way
they see.
mirror? Aren't they called
Yeah, I
one-way?
guess. I don't know.
Two-way.
Yeah, they're just looking at themselves.
Yeah,
And they see the King of France come in, and Mickey's like, "Who's this guy? He looks like an asshole." And the Doctor comes up and is like, "Yep, that's the King of France." As they're just sitting spying on him, and they see.
I do like the
Pompadour.
opening of this scene with the point of view of the eyeball watching Mickey and Rose walk around the spaceship, because it's a very voyeuristic episode. Definitely
It
voyeuristic.
is, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of watching people without them knowing.
Especially later on when the Doctor apparently, when he's doing the mind meld thing, he's apparently watching Renee do something very naughty. And he's like, definitely close that door. And she's like, no, I want you to watch.
Yeah. And we get a little bit more history here on who Madame de Pompadour is. She's going to be the mistress to the king, which is apparently an official position within the royal house, which is one interesting time, eh? The king's got his wife, and then he's also got his other lady that's not his wife, but they bang.
Everyone in Paris was doing massive orgies around this time, so it's not too surprising.
Well, all the rich people were. It kind of built up to a bit where they were like, okay, let's stop the orgies and kill all the rich people. But this was before then.
Everybody else was eating cake, I guess.
A Clockwork Man shows up, and the Doctor jumps through the window, mirror, whatever, because I guess it can slide open. Everything can swivel. There's always lots of swivels. And I understand a lot of the doorways because they're like hidden doors. It's like a wall or a fireplace. There's one later on where it's just a fucking curtain. It's like nobody's gonna step through that. Nobody's gonna move that.
No.
Yeah. But they freeze up the droid, the little Clockwork Man, and get some fun little bit of exposition here. The Doctor manages to get Madame de Pompadour to tell the robot to listen and answer questions, because for some reason they listen to her. and we find out that these are repair droids trying to fix their ship after an ion storm, and that the crew has gone missing because they didn't have enough parts and used the crew for the parts, but it still is not quite enough.
Yeah.
And that is
some good acting from Billie Piper here, where she realizes, hey, wait, we saw a human eye, we saw a heart. You know, she's almost breaking down because she's imagining the fucking horror that the crew must have faced. Like, that is some good acting from Billie Piper, who doesn't get much to do in this episode, sadly.
Yeah, I like the subtle body horror sci-fi that goes on. Like, it's pretty grim. It just happens in the background, you know.
Like, I don't think as an 8-year-old I fully comprehended the flesh burning off of the corpses. Like, oh.
Yeah, there was 50 of them all getting chopped down by these robots on that. Like, it must have been just pure terrifying. You could do a whole episode just about that.
Oh my god, yes.
You know?
Like a BBC Three episode, kind of.
Yeah.
I would fucking watch the shit out of
that. But, you know, they keep opening up these time windows to check on Madame de Pompadour because they're scanning her brain to see if she is ready to be harvested yet, and which she is not. And they still don't quite know why it is that they're doing that. Like, what is making them want to go after Madame de Pompadour, and the Doctor sends Rose and Mickey back into the ship so that he can have some brain sex with her.
Because she told the robot to go away, and then the robot teleports back onto the ship. And she definitely does. She definitely leaves the door open for the Doctor to watch her do something.
Yeah.
Which is classic Moffat.
Yeah, it's a fun scene though. I think that you can believe the chemistry between them, and the you know, there's enough charm by them. And I like when she goes into his brain and she's like, oh, what a lonely childhood, what a lonely Doctor you are, like, you know, and she empathizes with him, and that scares the Doctor because he's like, holy shit, you shouldn't have been able to do that. Who are you? Why are you, you know, this way? And
it's never explained why she could do that, but whatever, I'm fine with it. You know?
She's just cool, I guess. And you know, this is series 2 of Doctor Who, so this is still, the Doctor is a big mystery man, and they can tease out the mystery and still keep it interesting. And they do a lot of the Doctor's childhood in the David Tennant era stuff, because, you know, we get like the looking into the vortex with the Master as a kid, and you know, we see flashbacks of them as children. You know, like we get more Doctor childhood here than I remembered us even.
It was also around this time the BBC were like, hey, can you do a CBBC show for us? You know, make it about the Doctor's childhood. And Russell T Davies was like, I'm never fucking exploring the Doctor's childhood. Let's do Sarah Jane Adventures instead. like he completely shot that idea down, and I don't blame him, because it would revealing too much of the Doctor's history. Chris Chibnall.
Like, what could you really do with it? You know, like Adventures on Gallifrey, like the Doctor, like,
and also it'd be too expensive. Yeah, it'd be too expensive. You'd have to keep them in like rooms all the fucking time. It's a weird one, but this mind meld scene wasn't in the first draft, and the first draft is basically the final episode. So this is like one of the scenes that was added in the second draft, and I would say it's very important for the episode to work, because you understand the connection much better when we do this, because otherwise it's just the Doctor lusting after a 20-something-year-old French woman for no reason.
He's got a type.
He does. Even fucking Rose picks up on that later on. I do like that this episode is essentially about a love triangle, but you never focus in on the love triangle. It doesn't become a soap opera. It's just Rose kind of has a moment to reflect on the Doctor's in love with somebody else. That's heartbreaking for her. And you know, if this was made today, because people go on their phones, they would have to make that explicitly clear to the audience. Rose Tyler would be turning to the camera and going, "I am sad because the boy I love is dating this lady now." You know?
Yeah. It's I like bad TV. The Rose and Mickey get captured by the robots, and they wake up on the table, or like tied up to some chairs or whatever the fuck, like medical operating table basically. And I really like that when Rose wakes up, she shouts for the Doctor before she even remembers Mickey's there. You know, she's like, "Ah, Doctor," and then Mickey's like, "Oh, hey, Rose, what's up?" You know, I think that's the perfect summary of their entire relationship.
I just realized I must have had a nightmare based on this scene with them being tied up to the operating table, because I had a nightmare once. I went to school, Cybermen were there, and they tied me up to a medical table like that. So I must have been. I must have got it from this.
Combining and the next episode is Cybermen. You know?
Yes.
It's these 2 weeks really messed with your brain.
But yeah, and before the Doctor comes in, we get, you know, when we're doing the mind meld scene, we talk about dancing. And to Stephen Moffat, he always talks about dancing as fucking, because, you know, the last episode he wrote for the show was The Doctor Dances, which was all about him being, the Doctor being too old to dance. He doesn't dance anymore. He lost people. He doesn't dance. It's fucking. Yeah. He's talking about fucking on a watershed, on a children's television show, you know? So yeah, the Doctor came back from a French orgy, basically.
Yeah. He loved it. He loved it a lot. And, you know, I like the build up. I wish that this build up here when Rose is like, "Oh, you know, the Doctor, there's names for him. They ever heard of the Daleks? They had myths about him. They had a name for him." I wish the music complemented the scene more, and it got a bit more epic and building up. Like, you know, maybe we hear David Tennant's theme song kick in, or the Daleks theme or something, like, just to add so when the comedy comes of him coming in, like, "Way!" Like, it hits harder, because I feel like it doesn't hit as good as it could.
And then, you know, we build up with the dramatic music, and then a record scratch, like in episode 2. I don't remember the context behind that, but the record scratch. Am I hallucinating? Was that
I don't
real?
remember a record scratch in Attack of the Clones.
Oh my god, am I hallucinating? It might be another movie. Record scratch.
I don't feel like, I don't know where you would even fit a record scratch in Attack of the Clones.
No, there's like oh my god.
I think you dreamt this.
I must have.
I think this was a dream. I
swear to God, there was a point where I must be hallucinating. I swear there's a point where there's like dramatic music and then a record scratch and then something bad happens. I must have.
I think you made this up in your head.
I swear it's in one of the fucking scenes.
Why would there be a
Padme,
record scratch in Star Wars?
I swear it's one of the scenes where Padme and fucking, I don't know. Oh my god.
You need to watch Attack of the Clones again.
I don't.
This is just evidence that you've not watched Attack of the Clones enough.
I don't. Fucking terrible movie. Jesus Christ.
It's pretty good. But the Doctor comes in on this scene, and he's got a tie around his head. He's got little shades on, and he's very. You think he's drunk, and I remember fucking loving this scene as a kid.
Yes.
As a little 6-year-old boy, I thought this was the funniest fucking scene ever. I love David Tennant as the Doctor. I love the Doctor. He's so wacky and silly. And obviously, as a huge fan of Doctor Who, I always say when someone is wrong about something, like Scott is about this record scratch, that he's a big thick Phil from Thickania, or wherever the fuck the line is.
Thickety face from Thicktown, Thickania.
Thickania. Yeah, that's what you are, Scott, because you thought there was a record scratch. And as a fan of Doctor Who, I have to say that every time.
But this is, Moffat really fucking loved this line here, because he borrowed it from his own show, Coupling, where there's apparently a character who calls another character Slim Slimity Slim from Slim Time Slimania. So he loved that line so much, he used it again
Yeah.
in Doctor Who.
Yeah, yeah. Which I don't like. It's fine. It's not. I don't think it's like I didn't remember it as a line. I didn't think it was an iconic line, but apparently it was, according to that quiz we did.
Oh my god! So all the Tumblr users fucking love
Oh, yeah.
those lines.
Yeah, I'd take a banana to a party. Bananas
Yeah.
are fucking good, or whatever
Which
it was.
there's
know?
also a runner about bananas in the Doctor Dances and the Empty Child as well. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
talk about fucking and bananas. What can you?
Because
What
they're penis shaped.
yeah. I was about to say something way more vulgar, but yeah, you put
But the Doctor is actually not drunk, and instead he has anti-oil in his glass. Which, where did he get that from? Why did he? What is anti-oil?
No, I like to think that's what the French gave him.
They drink. Yeah.
They must do, you know. It's a different planet, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. And he pours it down the robots and turns them all off, and he's like, haha, you guys are all dumb. He frees the Mickey and Rose, and he's like, okay, like, the reason that these guys are dumb is because they think that Madame de Pompadour needs to be 35 years old to put her brain in the ship, because the ship is 35 years old. And it's dumb robot logic, you know. It makes me think off the line from what was an episode that we covered recently where they were talking about computers, where it's like they're like wonderful idiots or something. It was the Tom Baker line in Robot. You know?
Yeah, Robot. Yeah.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty great. It just reminded me of that. Of, you know, computers can be these incredible things, but they're really, really dumb. You know, they're incredibly smart, stupid people. It's it's just fun. And the robots, though, they start coming back to life and being threatening and scary.
Oh,
And
okay.
so,
Sorry. There's a point where in Star Wars Episode 2 where the music abruptly stops
Still
when
looking
Padme
for it.
stops Anakin's kiss. For some reason, I just imagined a record scratch. I don't know why, but the music does stop. Okay, when
Yeah.
she stops Anakin's kiss.
Because the
It
romance is
abruptly
over.
stops.
She
Yes.
just like the atmosphere stops. You know.
Maybe I saw my own special edition of that scene. I'm sorry.
But yeah, the robots all vanish away, and the Doctor's like, oh my god, Madame de Pompadour's in danger. We've got to go find the time window that she's at to go and save her now. And we then go to Rose finding Madame de Pompadour 5 years beforehand in the wrong one. And this is a really good scene. I really like the scene. I think it's a really needed scene as well, because so far Madame de Pompadour has really only been with the Doctor and been like, oh, I want to fuck you, you're so pretty, you know. And this allows the stakes to really set in, and for, you know, the reality of the situation to come in. And Rose is like, hey, so like time is wrong and this shouldn't be happening and blah blah blah. And there's a good line here where she's like, what do you mean it shouldn't be this did happen, and I wouldn't change it any other way, which really introduces the idea that is the big problem with a lot of time travel stuff, and that is, how does free will work in a world of time travel, you know? But just don't think about it.
She also says the line, one may tolerate a world of demons if it means an angel, and that's the line where Rose realizes, hey, you're in love with the Doctor, I'm in love with the Doctor, he's mine, kind of situation. Which, again, I'm glad they don't fucking go into it, but like Rose just quietly mourns the loss of a relationship she could never have, kind of, in this episode. That's all you really need. You don't need a proper love triangle to kick off. It just needs to be subtle, you know. It's subtle, it's subtlety, which is nice. You don't treat the audience condescendingly like most TV shows do nowadays. Like, oh my god, I still can't. It's just fucking Netflix. What the fuck are you doing with this fucking? Oh, people are on their phones, so we must make the dialogue clear to people at home. Fucking ridiculous.
I hope that it's mostly just for trash TV shows they make that nobody watches, because like Netflix is good, I think, in terms of like making everything for everyone. So they have like their really dumb, broad, general audience stuff, but then they're like, and also we hired this niche artist to make a little art house film because we want to seem prestige, you know. And that, so yeah, it's garbage though.
Well, I need to be more observant with the dialogue in Doctor Who, because I'm curious if Disney Plus would be given
Ooh, yeah.
Russell
Similar.
those kind of notes. Hey, you
Yeah.
need to explain what's going on because this is too subtle.
We've talked about before in like series 1 some of the dialogue seeming a bit weird.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll definitely be keeping paying more attention to this because we'll see.
We get a really good scene next when Mickey comes through, the bumbling idiot that he is, and basically lets Madame de Pompadour onto the spaceship, where she can hear her future and hear her own voice, and I think it's a really cool, impactful thing, and it adds to the like, oh my god, time travel is kind of terrifying if you're just like living in your own timeline and the ship is just your life, and I think the performances from everybody here are really, really strong as well.
Oh yeah, Euros Lynn is the guy who directed this episode. He's like one of the best directors of the original Russell T Davies era. He's the guy who did Torchwood Children of Earth, which we both really loved. So he is an excellent director, and I think he gets those kind of performances from the actors, because fucking Torchwood Children of Earth is full of performances like this.
It's very good. Yeah,
it's
we
excellent.
covered all of that.
Yeah, we talked about it for
podcast,
like 10 hours. It's a grand time.
So if you want to go and listen to those 5 episodes,
Yep.
Yeah, feel free to check them out on our channel / the podcast feed. But yeah, there's some good lines here as well where Rose is like, "Are you okay?" and Madame de Pompadour is like, "No, I'm not okay at all. This is terrible."
It's such a realistic performance. Sophia Myles, again, only complimenting her as an actress, is really fucking good here.
Yeah. No, it's a really solid time, and the episode continues. It's a really strong episode as we will continue to dive deeper into it. The episode continues onwards with the Clockwork Men attacking everybody, and Madame de Pompadour being like captured amongst all of the shouting and hoo-ha, while the Doctor, Mickey, and Rose look on from the ship through the time window.
Because the Doctor's like, we can't do anything. We need like a truck to break through the. We can't use the TARDIS because we're part of the events. We need a truck to break through the glass or whatever. And Mickey Smith is like, we don't have a truck. And the Doctor's like, I know we don't have a truck. Which I fucking love. Just the Doctor just shouting at Mickey. Great stuff.
It is fun. It is fun.
Especially now that we know more about Noel Clarke.
I like this scene a lot. I like, the resolution to getting through the windows. The Doctor jumps through with a horse.
Yes.
But I feel like on board the ship, this big, massive spaceship full of electrical wiring and tool. Like, you can find a hammer
or a fire extinguisher. You could just break through it.
Yeah, you don't need to put the horse's life in danger.
Yeah. But this shot with the horse is really well done for 2006 television. Like, that's a decent shot. It still holds up, I would say.
I don't know if it holds up. Really, but it doesn't look like reflections are hard to do.
Yes.
And reflections on moving CGI glass, really hard to do. It doesn't look real per se, but it doesn't look terrible.
It's an ambitious shot, and I think it works out in the end. You can forgive it for its faults, but this is a shot that everyone on the crew thought was impossible. And up until 2 days before the actual shoot, they were like, I think we could do this. And then suddenly they're like, no, I don't think we can do this. So they ring Stephen Moffat up and they're like, yeah, really sorry, bro, but this shot is kind of impossible. And according to Julie Gardner, Phil Collinson, and Stephen Moffat himself, Stephen Moffat fucking broke down over the phone because he was like, that's my favorite part of the whole episode. And so he actually wrote like an alternate draft where the horse actually got lost inside the TARDIS and found the TARDIS stables instead. But the thing is with this shot is Obviously, the horse doesn't break through the glass. Obviously, that's not David Tennant on the actual horse. That's somebody else on the horse with David Tennant's face CGI'd
Yeah.
on top. And the horse isn't actually in the building with everybody else. That's the horse. It doesn't go to the ballroom. So that's so that's a really hard shot because the guy who owns the building the ballroom was shot in didn't want horse tracks all over the place. Fair enough, because the floor is expensive. But like that's really ambitious for them to do this. It's for 2006 television, I don't think you would see something like this.
I mean, we were talking about like the budget for this episode. It must have been crazy. I don't know how they budgeted.
Yeah,
this
I know.
Like,
Must have been like one of the most expensive Doctor Who episodes at the time. It's really well shot.
It's ambitious in every what way possible, But the Doctor, he smashes through the mirror with the horse, arriving in grand heroic fashion. He has a line where it's like, "Oh, that's my lover, the King of France," and he's like, "Yeah, well, I'm the Lord of Time."
What a flex! What an absolute flex!
And he basically defeats the robots by severing their link home. Because when he smashes through the mirror, for whatever reason, that disrupts the connection.
Yeah, I think
ship.
it's the last remaining portal. I think.
Yeah, well, this is her at 35
Yeah,
or however
yeah.
old, so they don't need to go further than this. And that severing the connection makes the robots just kind of shut down and stop working. He's got a fun little pun here as he's telling them off, where he's like, "All of this stuff is happening, and I'm not winding you up." Hey. And we just get to slowly, again, I really like the looks of these clockwork robots as we slowly see it like thinking and computing, and the ticking just slowly stop as it shuts itself down.
Again, that alone, the costumes for these robots must have been a fortune.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we see Rose kind of staring at the wall as she's figuring out.
I was on my phone at this point. I missed this part. They didn't explicitly tell me what Rose was feeling in this moment.
Yeah, and she's not like bawling of tears. She has a tiny little tear you can hardly even see. As she's just in quiet grief.
There is some excellent subtle acting in this episode where nobody is full on crying. It's just, okay, I'm going to fight back the tears, basically, what everybody else is doing. David Tennant at the end of the episode isn't crying per se. He's just fighting back the tears. He's trying not to have an emotion. Really good subtle acting. That's hard. I would say that's harder than full-on crying sometimes, because you have to rely on your subtle actions rather than... I think it's easier to full-on cry, I would say. I say this as a person who's not an actor who has never acted.
But it's like... It's the louder the acting, the more like easier it is to get a response from your audience.
Yeah.
It's like why when people are like, "Oh my god, this film's got such an amazing performance in it," and then you see the performance, it's someone shouting. They're mad and they're angry and they're loud, because it's easy to evoke reaction from your audience. Being subtle and almost not moving your face at all. Like, that's real hard to convey something, Yeah,
I love as an audience member where you can kind of fill in the gaps of what this person is feeling in this particular moment. The show isn't telling you what Rose is feeling. You just have to work that out on your own based on everything you've fucking seen. And we've said that before, but it's a problem with television these days. It's so obvious with writing at times.
Yeah, it's... it is what it is, I guess. There's too much TV now. We get to stay with the Doctor for a bit as he's just kind of trapped in France with Madame de Pompadour, and they have a lovely little conversation about like, oh hey, like you can never go home, you're kind of stuck here, but maybe that's not going to be so bad, and let me show you something. And she takes her to the bedroom, and it's like, ooh la la. And this... Obviously, she takes him there because she's rebuilt the fireplace, which is gonna also rebuild the connection.
Sure.
Don't worry about that. It doesn't make any sense. But this is also where the game edge of reality kind of kicks in.
Oh yeah, of
because
course. Yeah.
this is like, what if the Doctor didn't use the fireplace to go home and he just stayed in France with Madame de Pompadour and they have a whole life together? And it's
Strange
genuinely
choice for
like
that game.
it is a strange choice, but I think it's an interesting twist on like it's suddenly where it's like, oh, this is suddenly interesting right at the end of this game.
Well, I guess we've got our answer to what the 10th Doctor looks like when he's forced to stay on Earth, because the 14th Doctor is retired.
Yeah.
And I still don't like how that works. It still doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It still feels pointless.
Yeah, it was a nostalgia cameo spot for a nostalgia cameo spot, and you just don't worry about it. He's just vibing. He's just vibing.
It's really fucking bizarre, but okay.
What I really liked here is when the Doctor sees the fireplace and he feels that connection again, he just immediately is like, bye, not thinking about how it affects Madame de Pompadour. Yes. She's like, no, I don't, what, where are you going? And, she just, again, she just gives him a look, and she's like, no, when he's like, wish me luck. And then it's like that moment of realization where the Doctor ducks behind the fireplace. He's like, go pack a bag, you can come with me, it's okay. Which... immediately as an audience member, I'm like, but that's not how the fireplace works.
Yeah, and
Doctor.
Also, in this moment, wouldn't you just take Madame de Pompadour with you?
Yeah,
to the other side of the fireplace. Like
yeah.
if you're planning on going to the TARDIS, just wait for her to pack her bags.
I think he's too excited.
I
think he's too excited. He's too because he's a little giddy kid, and he's like, oh my god, I could go home. Bye.
Or you just have Mickey look through the fireplace, because if you look through the
maintain
fireplace,
the connection.
Yeah, the connection. Yeah. I don't know how it works, but like David Tennant full on has a conversation with her like 2 seconds later,
Yeah, it doesn't seem to work with any sort of logic.
No.
Yeah,
because
it does what it needs to do.
5 minutes have passed in terms of how long the Doctor gets stuck there, but when he returns to Mickey and Rose, 5.5 hours have passed. Even though it should be slower on the ship than it is in France, I don't know how that works. My mind is broken.
The rules of time on the ship are they're loose. It's loose.
If only there was a term for this. Ugh, Stephen Moffat, come up with a term.
But the Doctor runs back through the fireplace, and lo and behold, everything's different again. Yep. Who would have saw that coming? And he walks through until he finds a room where I assume this is the King of France. I never actually remembered what his face looks like.
King Louis, the 15th.
Yeah, and he's staring out a window, and he's like, oh, Madame de Pompadour said that you didn't age and that you would be back one day, and my God, you haven't aged a moment. And he gives her a note. And basically looks out the window and is like, Madame de Pompadour is dead, by the way. She died 43. And he watches her coffin get taken off. And it's really somber, and it's such a sudden, quiet part, like sad ending to the episode.
I love the shot of the king in the foreground and David Tennant kind of out of focus in the background, but you can still see the pain on his eyes. Yeah. Like, David Tennant... Just the eye acting alone on David Tennant in the background here. Incredible work.
Yeah, it's very good. I also like when the king asks, like, hey, what does that letter even say? And David Tennant just tucks the letter away, and the king's like, quite right. Yeah. And, they just sit in silence again.
Nowadays... the line would be, oh, I'm not telling you, I'm putting it in my pocket, my right pocket to be precise, and I will look at it later on the TARDIS.
Well, you should get a job working for Netflix. But the Doctor makes his way back into the TARDIS, and immediately Rose and that can kind of tell that something's wrong. But the Doctor doesn't say anything. Again, communicating through body language and action. Instead of words. It's crazy.
one of our best Doctors for sure. Like, he is.
Oh, David T is good. Yeah,
he's so good.
He does good with what he does. And Mickey kind of picks up on it, and he's like, "Come on, Rose, show me around the rest of the TARDIS," which is interesting because the way that David Tennant's TARDIS is set out anyway, it's like floors. So he's like, "Come climb down several floors with me."
That's one of the problems that Moffat points out on the commentary. There's no fucking doors in the TARDIS other than the actual entrance. Like, you can't have these characters go off screen because you're just imagining them standing in the corner somewhere.
That's what they have to go down. They have to go down through the floors.
With TARDIS, you've only seen the main console and in the Christmas Invasion there's a wardrobe, and that's all you've seen of this TARDIS.
There's a line, I think, in a David Tennant episode when he's underneath some of the floors, and he's like, "I think I've got a swimming pool down here somewhere," you know? So his TARDIS is probably the least fun to go around. It seems like a nightmare to actually explore.
But still a great TARDIS. I love the color scheme. I love all the spindly bits and all the wires, and it's great.
Yeah, it's pretty grunge. And the Doctor listens, or he doesn't listen, he reads, we listen to the note that Madame Pompadour wrote, which is basically just like, "Hey, thanks for all the fish, goodbye."
So the original draft wouldn't have included what the note actually said. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I kind of like the note. It kind of feels nice to know what the note says, but I could do without it at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think we need to know. As the King says, you know, it's quite right. Like, it's just for the Doctor to know. Like, we as an audience can infer whatever we want that note to say.
Yeah.
And, like, us, when we hear the note, and it's basically just like, "I love you, but I'm dying."
The note is basically what you'd imagine it to say. So it lacks the subtlety of just letting the audience figure it out on their own.
Yeah, and if you, like, can choose the words yourself in your own head, it probably has more impact than just hearing, like, you know, "I love you, goodbye."
But yeah, it's not a thing that breaks the episode in any way, but it's still a really great scene.
Yeah, and we then get the final twist as the Doctor is leaving, of the reason why the Clockwork Robots were wanting Madame de Pompadour's brain to begin with, and that is because the ship is called the SS Madame de Pompadour, and the robots were dumb and figured, if the ship is broken, we can get Madame de Pompadour's brain to fix it because they have the same name. That's some very fun little bit of robot logic there.
Although I don't imagine people 3,000 years in the future being like, "Oh, I'm really into Madame de Pompadour." After that Doctor, I guess the only reason why we know it is because of this Doctor Who episode. That's the only reason why anybody knows of Madame de Pompadour, I'd imagine. Unless she'll eventually just get back into popularity.
You never know. You never know how, what changes and what trends come in.
Like, maybe in the year 2200, there's a really good biopic about her or something.
Exactly. Who knows? Like, you know, and also there's only so many names that you can call ships, you know? Like, how many Voyagers or Titanics are you going to have before you start choosing some other names?
Yeah, after 3,000 years, you're going to run out of ideas for sure. you're gonna pick out the most obscure people from the history books.
Exactly. But that is Girl in the Fireplace. I think a really strong episode. I really enjoy it. I don't know if it's Moffat's best episode, but it's definitely one of his most iconic episodes, and it's a very solid episode in series 2 as well, which, hot take, is a good episode of a good series of Doctor Who.
I need to go back to it. I think I underrate this season. It's been a long time since I've seen it from start to finish, but out of the original 4 Moffat episodes, if we're including the Empty Child / the Doctor's Dances, Girl in the Fireplace, Blink, and Silence in the... Was it called Silence in the Library?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Was it really called Silence in the Library? They really foreshadowed the silence early, didn't they?
It's called Silence in the Library, yeah.
Yeah, so out of the original 4, I would say this is the worst Moffat episode. Well, that's saying something, because this is like a 9 out of 10 episode. It is a masterpiece in like pacing, character emotions. You know, it is a really solid fucking episode. Out of the 6 that Moffat wrote as a guest writer, this would still be number 4. I would put Boom below this. And I fucking like Boom a lot. And obviously, Joy to the World is dead last. That's easily Moffat's worst.
Yeah, that was for sure. Joy to the World was not very good at all. Just as a guest writer, he's written some stinkers as showrunner for sure.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
You know,
but a really fucking solid episode. You know, it's a masterpiece in just every little way. It's Moffat, Stephen Moffat. What a joy.
What a
one
guy.
One of our best writers.
Yeah, and speaking of best writers,
God.
next week we are taking a gander back over to Torchwood. It's been a little while since we looked at Torchwood. We covered the Children of Earth series in its entirety a few months ago. So now we are going back over to that world, and we are looking at a very early episode in series 1, and possibly one of the most iconic episodes, written by the one and only Chris Chibnall. It is Cyberwoman. Possibly one of the most ridiculous episodes of any TV show I've ever seen in my life. I actually kind of enjoy the silliness in Cyberwoman. I'm gonna be real. It's a really dumb time.
It's interesting because I rewatched it last night and I remembered it being so bad it's good. That was my initial thoughts. And when I watched it last night, and I'm like, maybe this is just bad. But we'll get into it next week.
It's crazy. It is crazy. But yeah, we've got Cyberwoman coming next week, and then we are finishing off February with The Husbands of River Song.
Yes,
so those are some big
a
episodes.
Christmas
we're covering.
episode in February.
In
Only because it's like
February?
one of the most romantic Doctor Who episodes. We're doing romantic themed episodes this month.
Which is why Cyberwoman.
Yeah, Yanto really loves
the
Lisa.
the week of Valentine's Day.
Why not spend Valentine's Day with us watching Cyberwoman? It's the perfect choice, you know. You're not going to spend it. You watch Doctor Who. You're not going to spend it with anybody else. You spend it with us, you know.
If you've got a hot date, the perfect Valentine's Day viewing, Cyberwoman. But okay, we will see you then. Thank you very, very much. We're available on audio and video and whatever. Bye.
Bye.